What's up, everyone? You are tuned in to the channel Eps. I'm your host, EEPMON, because there is none other. Episode 124. As you can see, I am back at the EEP HQ. And as I was taking the train from Montreal back to Ottawa, I was reminiscing the times of all, well, not all, but the meetings that I have engaged in, the people that I have met, and I find that there are lots of people who really talk the talk, but when it comes to execution, they hardly ever fulfill their obligation. And that seems to be a recurring pattern, as I have observed. In fact, I have met few or just a handful of individuals who will do what they say will do. And I continue to meet people who are like this, right? If they're going to talk bravado, I'll be like, okay, let's play a game. I will see through my commitment, because I'm an individual that if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I catch you slacking and you just only talk about it, but you just fulfill even half of what you set out to do, then that's a huge red flag. I'm a person, the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to have any preconceived notions of one's capability. If you're going to say you're going to do it, then I entrust that you will. But I often catch them with their pants down. Not literally, but the saying goes. And I do wonder, it's quite embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. They will say they will do it, and then silence. So for creative entrepreneurs, when you are on your way to build your career in this world, know that you will too face many people who only talk bravado and execution bare minimum. So be careful. And if you are going to engage in a creative entrepreneurial path, I want to make sure, you got to make sure that you are 100% accountable. Now, that being said, I would like to talk about 5 key reasons why most people talk the talk but can't walk the walk. Number 1, fear of failure. And this is just what I'm thinking out loud. Fear of failure. Number 2, the good old comfort in conformity. Number 3, lack of clarity or direction. 4, and this is the dreaded one, procrastination. Keeping things, I'm going to leave it till the next day. And number 5, of course, the fear of accountability. Now, I have many, stories, which I'll be happy to share. But let's start with the first one, fear of failure. Many people hesitate to take action because they're afraid of making mistakes, being judged, or failing. This fear paralyzes them, keeping them stuck in a cycle of wishful thinking rather than execution. You have to have a dream. You have to have a goal. You conjure up some ideal scenario, which is fantastic. Gets your blood flowing, gets you excited. But the real test is to be actionable, taking the steps to fulfill those dreams that you set out to do. But at the same time, as I mentioned in my previous episode, society seems to cherry pick things that are considered success and everything else deemed failure. Failure has a negative connotation. Success, of course, a positive connotation. It's a good feeling. There's euphoria. And then the other side is, just really, really heartbreaking. But as I mentioned again, folks, and I'll say it again, failure is just part of the experience spectrum. You have to make mistakes. You have to fail. You got to fail hard. You got to learn. You got to pick yourself up and you got to keep moving forward. That's the name of the game. This is how it's done. This is how it's always been done. So, and don't worry about whether you're going to be judged or not. It doesn't matter. I remember I have been judged so many times. People come up to my face and tell me, "Oh, how did this do for you?" in a very passive-aggressive manner, saying that, "Oh, what you just did was wasn't great. How did that do for you?" But they fail to see the holistic picture of why you're in it. But then again, it doesn't matter what they think. I think the biggest thing that we have, the biggest challenge about the fear of failure is ourselves. We have to get over this idea that we don't want to look like a fool in front of people. Folks, we're already exposed. We might as well just really go all out and fulfill what you set out to do and execute those goals that you have in mind. So don't get stuck and ignore all the noise and go for it. So number 2, comfort in conformity. Like I said, complacency runs through everything, it seems, right? Complacency, conformity. People are often trapped, as I mentioned, by the golden handcuffs. The comfort of a stable but unfulfilling life, the security of routine and societal expectations prevents them from breaking free and pursuing their own path. And I think a couple episodes I talked about that. But this is also part of the reason why people are not actionable. They can talk. Talk is cheap, right? That's the phrase. Talk is cheap. It's so easy to talk. It's all hot air. But when it comes to doing it, it's very difficult. So conformity, it's such a safe thing. For some reason, we instilled this idea that we want to secure a job. So our financial security, our financial our income, whatever, is secured basically. Every 2 weeks, you got that cadence, getting paid. And that's a very, very dangerous. Actually, I dare say that this type of thinking of feeling safe and secure is far more volatile and dangerous than being exposed and going out on your own to pursue your own path. There's no such thing as being comfortable, being secure. There's no such thing. Again, another interesting misconception that society has. There's no such thing as security, and nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. So you got to break out of that conformity. You got to break past that idea of feeling safe because you need to break out of that in order to truly walk that walk, right? You have to be volatile. You have to embrace the uncertainties and the unknowns, because I always said this, that is where the opportunity lies. Okay? Now, the other thing, number 3, the lack of clarity. Well, folks, again, it's all about focus and discipline. It's easy to talk about goals and dreams without a clear plan, right? We could just conjure up this idea and all that. But if you don't have a plan or the steps taken, then you're not even you're back to square one, or not even. So, without a well-defined vision or actionable steps, as I mentioned, people get lost in vague ambitions, unable to translate words into action. Now, for me, I intrinsically knew that being a digital first creator will have I would encounter several challenges. First thing is the challenge of this idea that digital does not have a place in the institutional fine art world. That's a challenge. But I also knew that, and that's because it's just it's the same old sort of clashing between the old tradition versus the new tradition. So that being said, my vision was that as a digital first creator, I felt that rules are rewritten or broken, okay? Pretty much broken. Because with digital, because now no longer are you categorized as a specific, category in a career. Like, you're not just an illustrator, you're not just a painter, you're not just a graphic designer. Being digital first, we're like zooming out. Like, you command this holistic narrative, this holistic this paintbrush of what is called creative industries. I'm not going to let industry or society dictate exactly who I am, what I do, and what I specialize. And I've been told so many people, by so many people, oh, you should stick to one thing and be really good at it and become an expert. And I realized, no. It's more like I feel that I can be involved in all sorts, a plethora of many things, and that's what I'm good at. That's my strength. And that's where the power of being digital first, my goal was that. But not many people, very few, could wrap their heads around that. And that's fine. But that means I need to do, again, it's the challenge. It's like the old versus new. I felt that I have to really continue this path. And by being actionable, by doing the work, not just talking about, but just doing it, and and reveal the results, was my way of educating and showing the world and industry that this is a viable career path. Like, I defied those who told me that I should just stick to one thing. But my goal from the get-go was the whole holistic narrative of creative industries. You being like that one person who can unlock all these different areas of industry, that in itself is the goal for me. So that was my clarity. And then the more I did it, the more, like, no, I'm not saying that your clarity has to be super razor sharp at the beginning, right? It could just be this sort of like direction area that you're thinking, but you have to chip it away at it. You got to chip it away at it step by step. And the more you do it, the more you're going to realize it becomes more clear of where you want to go. And as I mentioned earlier, the more you do it, the more you get to know about yourself. Most importantly, yourself, who you are, your capabilities, your potential. And that clarity becomes more focused. So I'm not saying to have, again, not saying to have a clear picture from the get-go, no. But at least have a direction in where you align your interest and your passion. And that's a great starting point to start chipping away at it. Okay? You could daydream all you want, but that's just talking to talk. Start chipping away at it step by step. And that's how you know you're really walking it. Oh boy, number 4, procrastination. Look, we're all victims of that. I myself included. Sometimes I'm like, in my mind, like what I realized, I think human beings, what they find really difficult is to get something, like to really, to start something, to initiate. The initialization phase is always the hardest. Because it's I don't know what it is. Me, just this human condition where we're like, oh, we gotta we gotta start something new, and we gotta like, oh man, I gotta relearn something new. Can I just do what has always been done, blah blah blah. But once we get over that hurdle, then you're on a roll. But anyway, let me read this out. Procrastination, excuses and delays, often disguised as waiting for the right time, stop many from taking the first step. This habit of pushing things off leads to stagnation and missed opportunities. So as I mentioned, I think part of the reason is we just don't like to, or maybe I'm just wrong, but I think that human beings in general, we just like to be in our little habitat, very, very in our little safe zone. But in reality, there is no such thing as a safe zone. There isn't, right? Nothing lasts forever. So we just have to get over the hurdle of that initialization phase. But once you get started, you're fine. Now, I've met many people who always talked about, I want to do it. I got to do it. I got to figure, I want to get things going, but they keep on delaying, that to the point that they lose that passion, that energy. When you have that spark, they're ready to go. That's when you do it. But if you keep on delaying it, folks, then more and more of that energy is just going to go lower, and lower, that you just simply give up on it. So that's why, it says this habit of pushing things off. It's a habit. I think it's in everybody. But then you got to stop in your tracks and go, you freaking do it. If you can just spend 1 hour maximum at chipping away, of taking those first steps, and then once you have to just time yourself 1 hour, stop the timer after you're done, and then you reflect on it and go, how do you feel? Did you make any progress? Even just a little bit? Did it get the gears rolling? And if it did, fantastic. I'm not saying that 1 hour you're supposed to achieve incredible milestones. No, but you're taking those first steps. And if you made some progress, even 10%, 5%, that's amazing. Now, develop a cadence. Do it every day. 10% one day, another 10% the other day. Then you're in the flow. And that's when you know And that is called walking it. Really. That's walking it. So, yes, laziness. Keep just delaying. Yeah, and I met many people who are like that too. So watch out for people who are like delaying stuff all the time. Oh my god, I know many people who delay things. Sometimes it does bug me. But anyway, I don't want to go off track here. Number 5, finally, is fear of accountability. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let me just read this out loud. Walking the walk requires personal accountability, and many avoid the responsibility that comes with commitment. They'd rather project the image of ambition than deal with the hard work and sacrifice real progress demands. Yes, sir. You can have your Instagram reels and videos and talk a big shop for the world to see. You can be most inspiring. But at the end of the day, if you're not, again, showing real output results, then it's just all hot air at the end of the day. All hot air. Now, number 5 is interesting because it kind of relates to number 1, the fear of failure. So the fear of accountability. I don't know about you, but I think we in the job world or the corporate world or just sort of like, career world, I'm seeing increasingly less like people are becoming less are less accountable. You know what I mean? They're not taking the steps. They're just afraid of not being able to fulfill responsibilities. And I find it kind of strange. We should be accountable. We should be responsible. We should own up whatever it is that we do. And I would respect you a lot more for you to be accountable and responsible than to not be, because why would you fear from that? Is it of embarrassment? Maybe it could be a what is it called? What's the word? Imposter syndrome. It could be that too. People feeling that they have this imposter syndrome, a feeling of self-doubt or inadequacy, where someone believes they are not as competent or capable as others perceive them to be, despite the evidence of their success. So that could also be part of the reason why they, even though they have the experience, but they just fear of just being like, all right, the spotlight's on you, and this is your chance to to really exercise what you know. And then people kind of like freeze. Like, oh my god, I'm put on the spot, and then the fear takes over. But I think that accountability and responsibility it's like, look, no one's perfect, and it's a skill to get better at. Accountability, when I think about accountability, like, yeah, for me in my world, I'm 100% accountable. Like, if EEPMON fails, I mean, look, if EEPMON fails, I'm accountable. I'm committed. I'm committed. If EEPMON goes to the trash can, or if it fails miserably and becomes it dissolves or whatever, and I'm also accountable if it succeeds. It's not about like being fearful of. I don't see it as being fearful. It's just like it's my passion. It's my it's like my baby. It's like, I want to cherish it, and whether or not I go up with it or I go down with it, I take pride in whichever direction it goes, right? I'm responsible. If it's like, I would be 100% responsible if it just fails completely, and also if it becomes successful. Like I said, success and failure is one and the same. So I think that we need to, if I'm making any sense, is not to think about, like, we shouldn't be fearing things. I think that's a problem. I think this is a survival instinct in our human psyche, is that we are fearful. It's part of our survival mechanism. So the fear is like part of that survival, where, like, if you're going to fear something, you want to stay away from for as much as possible, right? Fear is like it's a human nature signal to avoid it at all cost. But I think it's like our ego playing with us. It's a psychology thing. We shouldn't be fearing it. Just be accountable. Be responsible. It's great. It's fine. Embrace it. Embrace your accountability. Embrace the uncertainties. Embrace the unknowns. Embrace responsibility. We have to. We got to own up on this. Otherwise, we have a society of just like bunch of slackers, and not getting and quality degrades tremendously. So that's why I love what I do. Like, that's why I love, like, perhaps I'm one of the most, like, well, not one of the most, but I'm one of the grateful individuals who kept going with my passion, and I'm really grateful for that. But it's my passion, of course, is art, right? Digital art. But I feel it's more than that. Like I love the fact that I'm responsible, that I am accountable, that that the actions that I take strategically, I set them out, and I see and do my utter best to fulfill them, and see what happens. Pass or fail or whatever. And whatever the outcome is, I'm extremely content and fulfilled, because I actioned it. I did it. So I'm learning. So my passion is the core, but what keeps me going is the fact that I am involving myself in a multitude of different skill sets and experiences that EEPMON has given me as an opportunity, and I'm growing all the time. It's self-fulfilling. I'm growing. I'm learning new things. I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and I learn from it, and I move on. That's part of the nature, folks. I actually today I made it wasn't a big mistake, a little embarrassing mistake. I'm not going to talk about what it is, but I owned up to it. I wrote back. I'm like, I just want to let you know this is what I've been doing, but just to show that I was accountable and responsible for those actions, but what I did is still coming from my authentic self. But anyway, I made a little bit of a little mistake there, which is like sort of like I should have like double checked everything. But anyway, that's besides the point. But I learned from that lesson, no hard feelings. I'm not perfect. Anyway, I'm at this point, I'm kind of like digressing a lot more now, but I just thought that I would talk about that because it's been, everyone's talking the talk, but walking the walk is just such a like people need to be more actionable. So I thought I'd give my 2 cents and explore about these 5 points. I'll put these in the show notes. But yeah, hope you like what I had to hear. Like and subscribe. Share this to your buddies. But have a great evening, have a great afternoon, have a great morning, wherever you are in the world. This is the Channel Ease episode 124. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.